How's it going, everyone? My name is Mark. I'm a poker player from Portland, Oregon. If you're new here, thanks for checking out the channel. If you're not new here, thanks for the return visit. I really appreciate it. Before we get into today's videos, I just want to give a couple of thank yous and make a couple of announcements. And by the way, I include chapters in all my videos, so if you want to skip ahead, feel free to do that. But yeah, just wanted to give a huge thank you to everybody who liked, commented, and subscribed after watching my latest video where I played a tournament at the Wynn in Las Vegas. It's been outperforming all my other videos 2-3-fold. So I really appreciate the support. Let's keep the momentum going. This is the second and last video out of my recent trip to Las Vegas, but I wanted to share some quick news with you guys that I will be going back to Las Vegas early June to play in my very first World Series of Poker tournament. I am so freaking excited. And what better tournament to play than the Housewarming? $500 buy-in, $5 million guaranteed prize pool. Wow. So hopefully we'll run good there. Let me know in the comments if you guys are going to the World Series and what tournaments you're going to be playing. All right, so heading into today's video, we're playing a cash game, not a tournament, at MGM Grand. Just wanted to give you guys a heads up that I did not play optimal poker during this session, and I think there's a few reasons for that. The first one was I was really excited to film my first cash game vlog, and so I think that resulted in me maybe deviating from how I normally play, wanting to create more action. The second is that I actually got to play with a fellow vlogger whose work I really enjoy, and that's Fish Poker. He was in Vegas at the same time that I was, and we started messaging on Instagram and trying to set something up. And so we ended up both playing at MGM Grand, and it was really awesome meeting him. I'm gonna throw a link to his channel and to his vlog of this session in the description. Make sure to go check it out. He's an awesome dude, and I really appreciate his support. And lastly, if you know anything about Fish Poker, you know that he's the champion of beer chugging. He challenged me, I accepted the challenge, I failed miserably. That's another reason to go watch his video. Watch me fail horribly at doing a beer chug. So yeah, there was quite a bit of drinking going on at the table, and I think it definitely impacted my play in a couple of key spots. But anyway, it was more about having a good time, having fun, and safe to say that we definitely had a lot of fun. So without further ado, let's head into the video, and I'll catch you guys later. First hand of the session, we pick up Queen Jack offsuit in the under the gun 1 position. We open up the action to $10, it folds around to Fish Poker in the cutoff, who 3-bets me to $35 without looking at his cards. Looks like our boy came to gamble, and we are loving it. Action folds back around to us, and we make the call. We go heads up to a flop of 3-9-8 with 2 clubs. Since Fish's range at this point is any 2 cards, we don't want to bloat up the pot with a c-bet, so we're going to check to him to see what he does. Fish hasn't looked at his cards yet and checks back. The turn is a beautiful jack, and we're going to bet for value here. We make it 30. Fish still hasn't looked at his cards, but makes the call. The river's an interesting one. It's a queen, putting a 4-liner to a straight on the board, but giving us 2 pair. With Fish's range still consisting of any 2 cards, we're not too worried about him holding a 10. He could have 1, of course, but our hand is a little too strong to check versus an opponent who hasn't looked at their cards. We bet $60. Fish finally looks at his cards and mucks. If you want to see what he had, make sure to go check out his latest vlog. I'm going to throw a link at the top right of the screen as well as in the description. We lose a couple of small pots over the course of the next hour until we pick up King Queen offsuit in the small blind and the $5 button straddle is on. A quick note on button straddles. In my experience, when there's a button straddle, the action is on the small blind, but they do things a little differently at MGM Grand. When there's a button straddle, the action is on the under the gun player first, like in a regular hand. If there's no raise, the action skips the button to the blinds, and once the blinds have acted, then the action is on the button. If there's a raise, however, the action does not skip the button, and they get to act as they would in a normal hand. A little bit weird, it took me a couple of orbits to get used to it, but eventually, I got the hang of it. Alright, so the low jack calls the $5, so does the high jack, action skips the button, and we make it 25 to go. The low jack, it's actually Fish Poker's wife, Lady Fish, then 3-bets all in for $34. The hijack folds, and now that there's been a raise, the button gets to act. They smooth call the 34, and we call as well. Lady Fish is all in, so we go heads up to the flop against the button for any side action. The flop comes 10 Jack 5 with 2 diamonds. We flop a straight draw, We're out of position, so we don't really want to bet and get raised, so we check, and the button checks back. The turn comes a jack of spades, we check, and this time the button bets $25. If we make our straight, there's a good chance we'll have the best hand and scoop the $135 pot, so taking that into account, we're getting just the right price to try and hit our straight. We make the call. The river doesn't help us, it's the 6 of diamonds which completes the front door flush draw. Really unsure what to do in this spot, but with only king high, we felt like we probably did not have the best hand. That being said, we didn't want to just give up on the side pot either. We didn't give a whole lot of thought as to what the button might be betting on the turn that it would fold on the river. We just kind of went with it and threw out a bet of $75, hoping it would get the job done, and it did. Lady Fish had pocket 9s, so she picks up the main pot, but we pick up the side pot, even though our line did not make a whole lot of sense. The very next hand, we pick up pocket 10s on the button. We see a couple of limps from under the gun 1 and middle position players before the hijack raises to 10. With pocket 10s in position, we decide to bump up the action to 40, blinds fold, the limpers fold, and when action comes back around to the hijack, they make the call. We go heads up to a flop of 8, 6, 9 with 2 clubs. The hijack checks to us, and we're going to bet in this spot to protect our pair and deny equity from big aces and Broadway type holdings. We make it 35, and the hijack check raises to 100. Now, we don't have any information on this player, but if there's one generalization you can make about 1-2 life players, it's that a raise almost always indicates 2 pair or better. Our opponent could also have jacks or queens. We're not too concerned about aces or kings, as they would have probably re-raised with those hands pre-flop. That being said, this is a super wet connected board. There are a number of straight, flush, and combo draws available, so we're not quite ready to let our 10s go. We look over to the hijack stack, and we see that they have about 150 behind. If we just call, there will be just over 320 in the pot, and if the turn comes a blank, I think we will have to just side call if they shoved. Preferring to take the aggressive route, we decide to put the hijack all in, and we weren't too surprised to see them call with pocket 6s. They flopped a set. We still have outs to win. We could hit a 10 for a higher set or a 7 for a straight. Let's go to a run out. The turn is the jack of hearts, which improves us to an open ender. Sadly, the board pairs up on the river, and we're going to lose a pretty sizable pot. In this hand, we pick up ace-10 off in the hijack, under the gun player limps, and the low jack raises to $12. We're tempted to 3-bet, but we decide to pump the brakes a little bit, and we flat call. Action folds back around to the under the gun player, who calls the $12 as well. We go 3 ways to a flop of ace, queen, 8, rainbow. Under the gun player checks, the original raiser checks, and on this pretty dry board, we decide to check for deception. The turn is the jack of diamonds. Under the gun player checks again, and the low jack goes for a delayed c-bet of $40 into a pot of 39. We make the call with top pair good kicker, let's see a river and reevaluate. Under the gun player folds, we are now heads up, and the river comes a brick 5 of spades. The low jack goes for a third pot bet, and something in our gut tells us we're behind, but it's really hard to find a fold for that sizing. After thinking about it for a little bit, we end up making the crying call, and the low jack shows queen jack for a turn 2 pair. Have to give them credit here. It looks like they pretty much put us on a ace-x type hand and made a great value bet on the river. Things are not going our way so far. We've lost about 2/3 of our stack when we look down at pocket 8s from the low jack. The button straddle is on, but it looks like the middle position player did not notice, as they put out what they think is a raise to 7, but ends up being a call of the $5 straddle. That doesn't deter us from opening to $20. The button calls and the middle position player calls as well. We go 3 ways to a flop of king, 10, 5 with 2 clubs. Middle position player checks, and although this board does not favor our hand at all, we decide to fire a continuation bet of 35.
Anyway, I started blasting. Bang! Bang!
We're hoping both opponents missed and to pick up the pot right there and then. We get the button to fold, but when action comes back around to the middle position player, they see right through us and check raise us to $100. No point in continuing with this hand. We fold, and we are getting a little bit frustrated. A few moments later, we pick up ace-10 suited in the big blind, and once again the button straddle is on. We see a limp from the low jack, a limp from fish poker. Action skips the button, and we're going to bump it up to 20 here. The low jack and fish poker both make the call. The button folds, and we go 3 ways to a flop of jack, 4, 9 with 2 spades, and the way we've been running so far, we feel like we flopped the stone cold nuts. We throw out a c-bet of 25, the low jack folds, and wouldn't you know it, fish poker raises us to $100. We only have about 120 behind, so we're happy to get it all in here. Fish Poker makes the call, and before we go to a run out, I ask him if he wants to run it twice. He agrees, so off we go. We're going to see a turn and river twice. Fish Poker shows King Queen offsuit for the gut shot straight draw and the 2 overs. Let's go to the first turn and river. First turn is an ace, so we only need to dodge one of the 3 remaining 10s in the deck. It's a 7 of spades, so we take down half the pot. Second run out comes a 7 on the turn, 5 on the river, and we scoop up a nice pot. Nice to finally have some chips pushed our way. In the following hand, we pick up ace queen from middle position with the button straddle on. Under the gun player calls, we raise the action to 25, and both the big blind and under the gun players come along. We go 3 ways to a flop of 10, deuce, 3 with 2 hearts. The big blind checks, under the gun player checks, and it looks like our c-bet frequency is going to drop to around 95% as we check back. 3 ways to a turn, which is the 7 of hearts, putting a potential flush on the board. The big blind checks, and the under the gun player goes for a bet of around 2.5% pot. Yeah, you heard that right. They bet $2. We are very confused, but we're obviously not going to fold for that price, so we make the call, and the big blind calls as well. 3-handed to the river, which comes the ace of spades, and we love to see it. Both players check to us, and well, we have to go for some value here, right? I swear to God, if I get check raised again, I'm gonna be pissed. We go for a small bet of $20 and both players fold. 2 pots going our way. Can we turn the session around? In this next hand, we pick up 5-3 suited on the button. Under the gun player limps, so does the middle position player, and with our stack having recovered a little bit, we decide it's time to give action once again. We raise to 15. Only the big blind calls, and we go heads up to a flop of deuce, queen, 5, rainbow. The big blind checks in flow, and we go for a c-bet of 15 for value, but more importantly, to deny equity from any unpaired hands that could make a bigger pair than us on the turn. The big blind seems to like their hand enough to make the call. We go to the turn, which is a beautiful 3 of clubs, now giving us a very well disguised 2 pair. The big blind checks to us once again, and this time we bet 30, which in retrospect seems a little too small. We should probably be sizing up to 50 or more, but we felt like this bet would allow our opponent to continue with their weak Queen X holdings, as well as any pairs between a 5 and a queen. The big blind calls, and we are headed to the river, which is a deuce of clubs, and the big blind checks to us for a 3rd time. Now, I don't know if it was fatigue or what, but for some reason we did not realize the implications of the board pairing, mainly the fact that our 2 pair had now been counterfeited, and that any of our opponent's hand we were getting value from on the turn now beat us. Let's cut to the table audio for a second. That's right, we throw $40 down the toilet, as at this point we literally cannot get value from any hand worse than ours, and our opponent calls with pocket 7s. This is quite possibly the worst bet I have ever made in my poker career. Seriously, I was so embarrassed, I briefly considered not including this hand in the vlog, but let me tell you right now, I'm going to keep it 100% real with you guys, and I will be showing you the good, the bad, and the ugly. And as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't get much uglier than this. Moving on to the next hand. Literally the very next shuffle, it looks like we get a chance to redeem ourselves as we pick up our first and only premium of the night, pocket kings in the cutoff. Yes, let's go. There's a limp from Fish Poker in the under the gun position before action folds around to us and we bump it up to 10. The big blind and Fish Poker come along. We go 3 ways to a flop of 7, 5, 9, rainbow. Pretty safe flop for our kings, so when action checks to us, we try to extract a little bit of value. We bet 10, and both players make the call. We all go to the turn, which is a 3 of diamonds, putting 2 diamonds on the board. Both players check to us once again, and this time we bet 25, which, once again, way too small. I think a bet of 45 would be more appropriate here. The big blind folds and Fish Poker goes for the check raise all in for a total of $72. We're obviously not going anywhere. We snap call and he shows 5-3 for a turn 2 pair. We're trailing, but we have outs. We can hit a king, or a 7 or 9 would counterfeit his 2 pair by giving us a better 2 pair. The river is a jack of spades, and we lose a big pot to Fish Poker. Nice hand, sir. Our stack now hits its lowest point of the evening, and we look down at King 4 offsuit in the big blind. There's a limp from the under the gun player. The small blind completes, and well, I guess we'll see a flop for free. 3 ways to the flop of 9 King Queen with 2 hearts. Small blind checks, and we're about done messing around. We have top pair, weak kicker on this very wet connected board, so we're going to go ahead and lead out for 5 here, and both players call. The turn is the 7 of spades, which does not complete any draws, so when the small blind checks again, we feel our hand is good enough for another bet of $10. That is until the under the gun player raises to $40. Not really sure what the 7 changes, but we don't feel too good about our hand in this spot. We decide to finally make a disciplined fold and throw our cards into the muck. We flip our king over to show the table the genius fold we just made, only for the under the gun player to flip over queen 5. Wait, what? He bluffed me?
Warning. Warning. Skill levels critical. Warning. Warning. Skill levels critical.
Ah, screw your warning. The button straddle is on, it's late, I got 7 deuce, and I may not be holding a sandwich, but I'm about to go loosey-goosey on these fools. The under the gun player calls the 5, the middle position player calls, the low jack calls, the high jack calls. Oh man, they don't know what's about to hit them. We're gonna raise this, take it down pre-flop, table the 7 deuce, and show them what's up. We make it 25 to go. How'd you like them apples, huh? Well, quite a bit apparently, because under the gun, middle position, and the hijack all call the $25. Time for plan B. We go 4 ways to the flop with $113 in the pot. We have $81 behind, so it doesn't take a genius to figure out what's about to happen. The flop comes 3, 5, 9 with 2 spades. We act like we got some kind of premium like 10s plus and are Hollywooding before putting the rest of our chips in the middle. We're already picturing everybody folding, triumphantly tabling 7 deuce to a standing ovation from the table and the entire poker room. Ah shit, they call, we're f***ed. Rest of the table folds and they show jack freaking 9 off suit. Okay, let's go to a run out. The turn is a deuce, let's go. Let's hit a 7 or a deuce on the river, and it's a jack. They make 2 pair, and we are done. All right, guys, so this wraps up this session. We were in for $600, out for but we had a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this video too. I wanted to give a quick shout out to the staff at the MGM Grand Poker Room for allowing Fish Poker and myself to vlog there. All the dealers, shift managers, everyone was super cool. And it's great to see a poker room embrace vlogging and realizing that it's great for the game. So thanks to them. Next vlog, we'll be heading back to Final Table in Portland to play a 20K guarantee tournament, and hopefully we can do another big score and recoup some of our losses from this Vegas trip. Thank you so much for the support. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, drop a comment. I love reading all the comments and I respond to everyone. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you will know when my next video comes out. All right? I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, guys. Bye.